Hello and welcome back to IllumiNation, the Disney Lorcana podcast. My name is Max.
And I'm Sam.
And we are back at you, episode 53, the start of year 3 for the podcast. You are here for it. We are here for it. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. So we are going to talk about DLC Richmond. But before we get into that, I just want to make a quick note that we are working on new editing software. So if this doesn't sound quite as normal as usual, feel free to give us some feedback and let us know. Also, I will not be editing this episode very much for content because we just got back from Richmond, but we wanted to get out an episode about Richmond, so we didn't have a whole lot of time to edit and record and get it out to you. So somewhere in there, something has to be sacrificed. Editing is the answer. It takes the longest by far.
Yeah.
So we are talking DLC Richmond. We're going to go through this chronologically because it makes the most sense to me. We are going to be shouting out things we liked. We are going to be calling out things we hope change in the future for DLCs to come. If you're not familiar with a DLC, that's the Disney Lorcana Challenge event. It is similar to larger size events in other games, similar like Grand Prix, regionals, things like that. And then from here, you go to Continentals, which is similar to a Nationals. And then from a Nationals, Continentals level, you go to Worlds. And that's how things work in the Disney Lorcana space right now. So that's where we're at. That's what we attended. And we're going to talk about how it went down in Virginia this past weekend at time of recording, which would have been the 8th.
8th is when we left.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about that the day we left. Thursday, we arrived in Richmond, Virginia, and we did early registration and badge pickup.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that process?
It was easy, simple. I like that they gave us the little bag with the goodies in it.
Yes, tell us what was in the bag.
We got 2 different notepads. One was deck box sized, and one was just a normal size, the Disney Lorcana one that we've seen around.
And you can tell by Sam describing that, we're definitely not editing this episode.
We got 1,800 tickets. We got a promo card and a bag, a free bag.
What's a ticket?
Tickets to buy, to cash in for the prize wall.
Oh, okay. So it's like an arcade.
Yeah.
Oh, neat. So we got those indeed. I would say my only gripe was if you used Eventbrite to get a ticket, it would spit you out a QR code that you could scan essentially for your ticket. They were not using that system. They were simply making you brandish an ID of some kind with the name of the account holder on it in order to get access to the account, which was strange to me. I guess it's like not fully integrated with Pastimes and Eventbrite, so that part of it was a little silly to me. But other than that, like Sam described, the swag bag really helped make the experience exciting just to sign up for a badge. There were plenty of open tables for free play. They were just letting people hang out and play games and jam and chit-chat and talk and do all kinds of fun schmoozing, which was really awesome. So I did like that. And
I did have a slight issue. Just they said something was up with my email address, and they were able to help me real quick. It was no issue, so...
Yeah.
Shout out to May.
Yeah, from customer service at Pastimes. Really cool to see that happen. We also got to meet Cooper, and he was extremely nice and thankful for us coming out to the event. I thanked him for putting it on, and he was just exceedingly kind about us coming and really enjoyed the fact that people are coming out to do these. Like, genuinely seemed stoked that we were there and talking to him and excited to see him. So it was really fun on Thursday, and I agree. The early pickup, I would do that every single time.
Yeah.
Then from there, we did all the fun stuff, walked around, got good food, went to bed, and then got up for Friday. And Friday, there was still badge pickup if you needed it, but there was also the kickoff of side events. So all kinds of scheduled and on-demand side events happening all over the convention hall. The way it worked is we had side events in one space, on-demand side events in one space, and then scheduled side events, main event, everything, prize wall, artist alley, everything else was located in the main hall for the DLC itself. So on demand relegated to its own separate little section, which I think worked pretty well to decrease a lot of foot traffic going through and used up table space, where there was never a problem through the whole weekend finding an empty spot to sit down and take a rest, sit down and chit-chat, or just play pickup games. So it was really fun. We did some things on Friday. Sam, do you want to talk about the thing that you liked the most that we did on Friday?
Yeah, so we decided not to play in that big, like, pre-game tournament, but we did decide to do the 2 versus 2 event, which we didn't really know much about going into.
No.
But it was awesome.
It was awesome. How does 2v2 work?
So you and your opponent, or you and your partner, both have to get to 20 lore before your opponents both get to 20 lore. And you can work together to do this. So you take your turns at the same time, you and your teammate. So like you can do things that help benefit your partner. So for example, Max and I played Ruby Amethyst and Sapphire Steel. And if he had a Tinkerbell giant fairy out on board, and then I played Elsa to tap down one of my opponent's characters, he was able to then attack. So it was really cool, the back and forth. There's a lot more involved in the 2v2 aspect, and I just thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really neat to see the way things are leveraged in the 2v2 format. Just your stuff is your stuff, but opponents would be both opponents, both opposing players. You can also use your teammates' characters to sing together, because that specifically designates teammate as a way to help do that. And what's neat is different effects, like Malicious, Mean, and Scary, for example, would impact both opponents. So the blue and green color combination was very popular amongst our opponents. But I think that Sam and I chose wisely when it came to 2 decks that we didn't have to put a ton of effort into building. If there was ever a larger 2v2 event, I would be really excited to get the chance to build around some of the strategies, because discard is each opponent. So one chip makes an opponent discard 1 card and another opponent discard another card, which is really neat. There's also a lot of variation in, do we just let somebody get to 20 and then pin another person down and stop them from getting to 20 specifically? Do we try to keep them both off of 20? What's the most sensible way to strategize amongst the resources that we collectively have as a team?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was really thought-provoking. It was cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, it was definitely a breath of fresh air amongst different things, where like this, it kind of brought a new life into what was a pretty well thought out, I don't want to call it solved, because we're still seeing a few new decks creep in, but a relatively stable metagame. So it was really neat. I also got to do some on-demand events, as did Sam. We got to do on-demand Pack Rush, which was really easy. Just signed up. We got our prize wall tickets, and we got to sit down and jam some Pack Rush, which was really quick and easy. And we also got to do 8-person constructed pods, which is 8 people in a group. Go sit down, single elimination bracket style. If you're knocked out, you get a certain amount of prizes. If you continue, you get a certain amount of prize tickets, and then you go to the next round, and the same thing happens again until there's a finals. So it's a very high-risk, high-reward situation if you sign up for one of the on-demand pods. They were doing it for draft. They were also doing on-demand pods for Infinity.
Yep. Something else that we did do Friday morning was we got to Pack Rush against the game developers.
We did.
Which was really cool.
Yes, we both got to play against the game dev, which was really exciting. So we both got our butt kicked.
Yes.
But that is the nature of Pack Rush. But when we were done, we got to pick whose card pool we got to keep. So I ended up getting a Legendary Webby in my card pool, which was really neat. And we got to talk a lot of shop with the developer, ask them some cool questions about what they did. What was their experience like? How did they get the position? What did they do beforehand? What experience did they have in the industry? And all kinds of fun stuff. It was really cool, and they were very open and very easy to talk to. So appreciate that very much. So that was our Friday. We, of course, met up with the rest of the team, who all got there at that point by Friday. And we got to have dinner and hang out and have a really good time getting ready for what would become the main event on Saturday in the main event space for the DLC. We got to do this with a little over 2,000 other competitors. So that was definitely the largest Disney Lorcana tournament I think we've been in to date.
Yes.
I think the next closest was just under 1,000 for us, like 700-800 at the Star City Games event that we went to in what was technically, they consider it King of Prussia, but it's kind of not. But anyway, that was the biggest tournament we had done previous to this one at that point. So it was really exciting to see so many people there for Disney Lorcana. The event started promptly on time, which I thought was really cool. We'll get into more of that as we go. But we want to start off talking about kind of our day and our records. So I'll go first because I did worse. And first is the worst, second is the best. So I had played round one against the aforementioned Emerald Sapphire. I was on the draw. I went 0-2. I got smoked pretty good with timely combos. Round two, I played against Amber Amethyst, not the Monstro combo, with a very tight 3-game set. I was on the play. I went 1-2. I was overtaken on the play game one with Lantern into Genie, into proceeding to find a lot of answers to the things that I was producing to attempt to stop them, which is exactly what that deck wants to be doing. Round three, I was against Amethyst Steel. I was on the draw. I went 2-0. That particular matchup I'm very well versed in. We played set champs the weekend before, and I played 6 rounds of nothing but Amethyst Steel. My entire set championship was me playing Ruby Amethyst and playing nothing but Amethyst Steel, and I won the playmat doing that. So I'm really confident in that matchup and my role in that matchup. Round four, I was on the draw. I was playing against Blurple, and I went 1-2 again, a really tight set. Game 3 was them on the play and them able to run out the curve, just going right through to Demona, and I just can't stop them when they do that with the deck I was playing. Round 5, I played against what is the toughest matchup for me, which is Sapphire Steel. I was on the draw, and I 2-0'd that one. Mercifully, I managed to do that. Horseman's killed many Vincenzos in that particular match, so that helped me a good deal. Round 6, I played against Amethyst Steel. I was on the play this time, and I 2-0'd that one. Round 7, I played against Blurple again. I was on the draw this time, and I went again close 1-2. At that point, I dropped. At round 6, I had the Mulan already after a rough start, but I figured I would stay in to see if I could achieve a positive record on the day. And it was fun because my last round opponent was one of your opponents from previous in the tournament, and we were chit-chatting, and we both didn't understand why we stayed in, but we had a good time and had a lot of laughs, so it was a good time. Sam, tell us about your tournament experience from a record perspective.
So I did pretty well in the beginning of the day. My first match was against Sapphire Steel, which is my worst matchup, so I was really worried.
We were on the exact same 60-card list,
yes,
by the way.
We played Ruby Amethyst. So yeah, Sapphire Steel, definitely my worst matchup. I played it a lot leading into this because I knew it was my worst matchup, and I was on the play, and I did 2-0 that, so I was really excited. It was a good start to the day. My round 2 was against Sapphire Emerald Detectives. It was a very heavily detective build. I was on the play, and I went 2-1. Round 3, I was on the draw. I went 0-2, so it was my first loss, and it was against Emerald Amethyst.
In the hands of Scott Markison.
Yeah. Who
ended up top 32ing the event.
Yeah, it was really rough. It's a deck I did not prepare to play against, and I couldn't get there.
Yeah, if you want to know the list, you can look it up because it's easily accessible because he top 32'd.
And then I played Sapphire Emerald again, and I was on the play, and I 2-0'd that match. Then round 5, I played against Blurple. I was on the draw, and I went 2-1. And this is where my day fell apart. Round 6, I played Amethyst Steel. I was on the draw, and I went 1-2. And then my last round that I stayed in for was against Blurple. I was on the draw, and I went 0-2.
Yeah, round 7 you would have needed to win as well as round 8 at that point.
Yes.
In order to day 2. You needed 18 points or what is essentially 6-round wins.
I will say, though, it was my first large event, really, and my opponents were all really nice, especially the last few rounds. They were impressed with how well I did for it being my first DLC.
Yeah, I definitely shout out to all my opponents as well. Nobody was unpleasant. There were definitely people who were disheartened or not happy in the face of defeat. I was one of them, no doubt, but nobody was negative to anyone else. It was all really positive, really rough beats sometimes, but everybody's like, oh man, more than just like, oh, you just got lucky. Like the attitude was not even close to that. It was everybody just disappointed, but really appreciative of a good match. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, you're going to win likely less than you are going to lose in the abstract of things. So it's better to just be as gracious as you can, and everybody I played was. I got a pin from my first round opponent that his wife made, which was really lovely. It was just, in terms of me having a rough day, my opponents were not the cause of it in any way other than they simply were beating me at the game.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I got a poker chip from Inkatink, I believe was the
Shout
team
out to
name.
Inkatink.
Yeah, so very nice opponents.
Yeah, they were awesome. They dressed up like the Seven Dwarves on Sunday. So in terms of that, was all great. I want to give, of course, a huge shout out to the team now. It makes sense, right? For the event, we had 11 of us enter the main event. We had 2 folks who came along and were at the attendee level. Tickets are hard to get, and or some people wanted to do other things. One of our teammates, shout out to Jess, really wanted to play Infinity all weekend.
She did awesome
and
with
she
it.
just crushed every Infinity event she was in. So shout out to her. And out of the 11 of us, I believe 10 of us got a Mulan promo. 3 of us ended up day 2ing the event, which is insane. 3 of our teammates, shout out to Carolyn, shout out to Noah, shout out to Matt, all of which were on Amethyst Steel.
Yes.
Ended up all making day 2 on a 6-2 record, I think, across the board.
Yes.
So really cool to see. Noah, it was his first DLC ever. Matt has been doing some of the DLCs at this point, and he's been just doing better and better every single time. I know he put a lot of pressure on himself to day 2, so super proud of him for making the day 2. Really awesome. He puts in an ungodly amount of reps to get good at the game. It's his first TCG, and I think he's blown me away with how good he's become. And big shout out to Carolyn, who's been doing a ton of DLCs. And she started off as somebody in the local meta that, to me, and no offense, Carolyn, but was a really easy, soft matchup. And now I dread playing Carolyn. She's gotten so good. She's gotten herself out of her comfort zone with this DLC, moving from Amber Steel to Amethyst Steel. Her and I put in testing together. She was testing with everybody. She tested with Jess, who was doing the Infinity events over the weekend, and she pushed herself really hard to do well. I think that she took a lot of mental wherewithal to make sure she understood the fundamentals of how the deck worked and what her role was in various matchups, applied it here, and the results speak for themselves. So I couldn't be prouder of the 3 of them. And Noah, of course, you are familiar with probably at this point from podcasts and streams. Noah's extremely talented. His first DLC, of course, Noah's upset he didn't do better than he did, but we're all really proud of Noah walking into his first large-scale event of over 2,000 people and proving that he can just walk with the best of them in day 2. So
Yeah,
unbelievably good job.
Super proud of everybody on the team, but especially those 3. So.
Yeah, I think if you are playing in the New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, the tri-state area, and you come across somebody in an IllumiNation jersey, it's not going to be an easy match for you. I think everybody's pushing themselves to do better and better and achieve their personal goals. I think it's incredible to see how much everybody uplifts everybody. Other teams were coming over. We were getting to chat with them and getting to schmooze with other people, creators. It's just awesome when we heard people mention and shout out that they had listened to the podcast before. It's just all really heartening to hear, and we really appreciate all of it. And I seriously could not be prouder of the team. I think this is a fantastic group who's proving that we are amongst some of the best, or if we feel like we're not quite there yet, are going to get to be some of the best players of this game. And that's exactly what we want the team to do, is always be pushing to do the next step and be a little bit better. So y'all are great. I appreciate every single one of you. Same with our community. Love that the community is so active. Check us out on Discord if you're not. Of course, we are there all the time. We're way more active than we are on social media, just because we're not the best with keeping up with social media. But we're trying to make a more concerted effort to do that and interact with more and more people the way that they want to be interacted with. So just wanted to shout that out. All the positives there. I'm going to touch on a small negative. It was a really large negative. It was my biggest issue, bar none, with the entire weekend. It was, in my opinion, completely untenable. totally unacceptable and needs very distinct attention and correction. And that is the absurd amount of time that it took from a round ending to the next round beginning. In no world should an 8-round event take 12 and a half hours. Not okay. That being said, I just wanted to make my point very clear. It's just, there's a few things I think we can do to tighten this up. Players who don't enter their results in should get one warning. Then it's a double loss and both players get dropped from the tournament. No exceptions. That makes it easy. The amount of people who have been to DLCs, whose names I know because they are considered to be some of the best players in the game, whose names I heard go over the announcements more than one time for different rounds for not putting in their results, unacceptable. The first time they get booted from a major tournament because they're too whatever to put in the results, that will teach them a lesson. And that needs to be done. You need to be respectful of the fact that results need to get put in. Judges should not be chasing people down to get their results. Similarly, if there's an issue with the software, at this point, I think it's pretty known. It needs to be addressed better to where it's not slowing the entire event down to a level of glacial. It's just not tenable, especially when you're doing well. You want to keep up ahead of steam. You don't want, okay, cool, my round took me 40 minutes of the 60. I have 20 minutes. Then I have the time extensions and the turns. That's going to happen, right? That's going to represent about another 10 minutes. And then on top of that, now I have another 30-minute break or whatever. Insane. You're totally, at that point, you've lost it, right? It's like training for a marathon. Okay, I've warmed up for 2 hours, 3 hours for the marathon. Well, now I have to wait 2 hours in order for the marathon to start. You've unconditioned yourself at this point. So there's just so many reasons why, from a strategic level, a gameplay level, and also just a everyone's time matters level, that this needs to change. But that is, and I don't want to go too crazy and make it sound like too terrible, but this was by a large margin the worst thing that happened during the weekend.
Yeah. The only other thing that was a little unfortunate was how far apart the on-demand section was with the main event hall. And I don't know that it was their fault. It was just there was also a cheer competition going on. So for some people, it was a little difficult to get from one area to the other. Yeah,
accessibility was an issue there in terms of people who were differently abled and not the most mobile, getting up an entire flight of stairs and across an entire, like almost half a block across to get to the other on-demand space was daunting for certain.
It was definitely like a 5 to 10 minute walk from one place to the other.
Yeah, you had to cross a sky bridge or go outside and across the block into another building. Like, I'd say it was probably like about a half a block, maybe a little better difference there from one place to another. So yeah, that is definitely tough. Outside of that, though, I cannot tell you how smooth everything was, how great all the opponents were, how amazing the judge staff was. Everything was great, other than how much time it took, and then the layout of the actual DLC itself, a little bit daunting for certain people, no doubt. Plus time walking back and forth. If you do that 15 times or so, you've spent a good deal of your day walking, which isn't a bad thing from a health perspective, but it is if you're not able to do that as easily or you need assistance for sure. So that was Saturday, really exciting. Sunday, of course, our 3 Intrepid Day tours got to day 2, and they all did various results. None of them got to crack into the top cut, unfortunately, but I think they all did pretty darn well, even if they would say they should have done better. I understand. You still did great. We did more on-demand events, which was really cool. Then we got to do, of course, the exciting part, which was get prizing. We got, of course, our Mulans from the day previous. We had our baby Pegasus. We got all that good stuff. We got to get ourselves a hat. We got to get ourselves a pin. And the thing that you wanted the most, you did, in fact, get, which is usually the way it goes between us, isn't it?
Yep, I got my Simba playmat, so really excited about that.
Yeah, the foil Simba mat looks great. It is a really cool showpiece, also a really cool piece you can take when you want to go to a high-level event.
Yeah, and shout out to Mel and Lauren, who are newer members of the team, and they also got one, which was their goal of going.
Yes, they did a great job. They had a lot of fun. They got to learn a lot, try a lot of things, and really dip their toes in coming from the Pokemon TCG over to this one. So really cool. I think their overall conversations with us were positive. I think they had a really good time. So that's, I think, very exciting. Everything was fun. The amount of people who were cosplaying, the amount of people who were representing teams of their own, people who were creators in the space, just everybody was so friendly, and everything was really a ton of fun. I think there was a reasonable amount of vendors. They did a collection quest while we were there. We got to do that as well. There was a lot of variety. There was even an area for younger kids and Illumineers who were aspiring to sit, relax. There was activity stuff for them to do. I think that there was something at the event for everyone. They streamed the event on a TV, so you could watch the feature matches. You could also walk over and railbird the feature matches. It was really cool to see how much thought and effort was already put into it. So I think if they can fix the one really major issue, I think coming up in further seasons, we'll see a fix to layouts, because I think there's going to be more time to select venues and be able to pick out exactly what would best serve the Lorcana community. So I think all of that was really exciting. I would myself be more than willing to do another event, especially if the other big issue gets fixed, which is just getting a frickin' ticket. Because that was just really hard. I literally wasn't a competitor until, a week ahead of time?
Exactly, a week, yep.
So it was daunting to go from, I was playing Sapphire Steel, and I didn't want to just coin flip my way through a large tournament. So luckily, I've been playing enough with Sam on Ruby Amethyst, really diving in with her and looking at the matchup spread, talking about what we thought the DLC would compose itself of in terms of a metagame breakdown. What decks would people bring to the tournament? We thought that we were positioned correctly. Turns out that Blurple saw a pretty marked increase and Dogs saw a slight step backwards, as did Amethyst Steel, only coming in around 24%, I believe. So the actual breakdown favored our choice less. Like, the Sapphire decks are tougher for Ruby Amethyst because it's just so fair and so very mid-rangey. Can it win? Of course. I think it's got some good game plans into that, but you need to find the right cards, and you need for your opponent to not do the perfect curve out that the Sapphire decks are so well rehearsed at doing.
Yeah.
So I think overall, I would have preferred maybe a different deck going into the weekend, but I think in terms of how the deck ran, even going back to the weekend before for set champs and everything, I think if you're facing off into mid-range mirrors or mid-range with a bent towards more aggressive strategies, I think the Ruby Amethyst deck is really exceptionally well designed and well built. I think our version is solid, and it takes away the high-low of some of the cards in the deck, and I think gives it a consistent bent that made it a pretty good performer across a lot of different things. Like, I won just as many Sapphire matches as I lost Sapphire matches on the weekend. So it wasn't too bad for me in terms of weakness. I just think that there could have been a better positioned deck than what I chose. But you're never going to know that until you're rewarded or you're punished.
Yeah.
So I think it was really exciting. I think it was fun to do. It was amazing to see the team all come out and all the work that everyone put into it ahead of time start to pay off for the people who really put in the effort, made the right choice, right? Like, plenty of deck choice matters things happening. So it was really cool to see all of that. What do you think?
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the weekend was on Saturday, being in there late because we still had teammates that were trying, they're winning in for day 2, was hearing the amount of cheering for people when they day 2'd. I thought that was really awesome, and it made me feel good. I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, everybody was crazy supportive, even other people from other teams or just other spectators who were railbirding the games, congratulating the people who won, and it was very uplifting. It was very exciting to see, and I think that the overall positive energy that this crowd brings to this game is refreshing. I think whether it's a TCG veteran who gives you a smile and a nod, they go out of their way to congratulate everybody. They don't go pushing down the people who didn't do so well. It's very little of that. You have a little bit of toxicity in there, of course, just because that's a large group of people, but on like by and large, this is so much more welcoming, heartening, and encouraging than other games that I've been a part of at a more competitive level. So that is, in and of itself, absolutely incredible. So I was really happy to see that that was a thing, and really like excited to be a part of an event like this. I'm, like I said, it's not going to be, it take me no convincing to do another one, so long as I could secure a ticket reasonably. It would take no convincing other than that for me to go, because it's so much fun across the board, whether you're an attendee or whether you're a competitor. It's just a blast to do.
And I do think they've come a long way, because we had Cliff on here to do an episode back when he went to Las Vegas. And I know he had a lot, I wouldn't say everything was negative, but definitely had a lot more negatives than what we came away from the weekend with.
Yes, which means that people are listening and people are improving, right? Like one of Cliff's biggest pushbacks was the 2-game format. This was the best of 3, which is far more traditional for trading card games.
Yeah.
So I think that like every step that Ravensburger is taking seems to be a net positive for the most part. I think that once in a while they have a stumble, but what I appreciate is that they're not willing, that there's their willingness to try something, even if it seems like a complete disaster of an idea, like the best of 1 DLC. That seems like a dumpster fire on all levels for this game. They were like, you know what? You might be right. Let's find out. And I think that's awesome. I love that, where it's like, this seems like a terrible idea, but let's just confirm that it's a terrible idea. Let's not think it. Let's just make sure we know it. And I cannot say enough how much I value that as an idea of no stone left unturned. Let's try everything and let's forge our own path to what the right choices are for this game. Because while there's been trading card games before, trading card games aren't that old. They're like as old as you. Like, they're not that old. Like, that's not really a long lifespan, right? Like, I think there's still room in that space to go, well, how come it isn't this way? Well, the numbers or the statistics or the math would indicate that it's likely not a good idea. But let's find out if it works for our game. We're seeing more contemporary card games, things like the Digimons, the One Pieces, that do thrive on a one-game tournament format, and they are successful for it because of the way the games are designed. So I think that leaving no stone unturned, trying everything, as the song would indicate, is a good idea for Disney Lorcana, and I'm excited that they seem to be taking the good ideas and latching on to those, and we've seen that now firsthand as an improvement across the board. So really awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk over from our exciting DLC weekend?
No, I had a really good time. Like I as well would not hesitate to go to another one.
Very exciting. So hopefully when the new DLC season gets announced, we will be there, and we will, as always,
keep questing.